Alrighty. Welcome to the Gallimaufry Gals Book Club. We are three sisters and their mom, blabbering about books of many genre. We're glad you're here. So we're going to kick it off, just giving a quick introduction of the four of us, who we are, what we're drinking, and what our current favorite ice cream flavor is, starting with the book chooser.
It's me! Hi, I'm Angie. I am drinking Power Wine. It's a sweet red wine mixed with Diet Mountain Dew. So,
sorry, I'm just laughing because it's like a crazy deja vu. It's like
this isn't our first take, guys.
No, this is number 3 or 4. So
or wine.
Yeah.
All the joys of red wine with all the benefits of caffeine.
It's really good though.
It is tasty. Yeah, and then I can drink it for a longer amount of time and enjoy it. So
awesome.
Tasty. Yeah, and so my favorite ice cream right now is I just found this ice cream. I don't know how long it's been out, but it's Ben & Jerry's non-dairy Netflix and chill. So yeah, I know the name's funny. Netflix and chill.
Like they're the titles of their ice creams.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
They are. Yeah, so it's super good. It's sort of like a peanut butter caramel sort of taste ice cream with a little bit of like fudge mixed in, and then it says pretzels, but the pretzels are actually like pulverized. So you get like the pretzel taste and the salt taste, and it kind of mixes, and it's sort of a weird texture because you can like taste the crystals. Like you can feel the crystals, but it's like, oh, it's so good. It's like salted caramel. Anyway,
Yummy.
It's super good.
Yeah.
That sounds really
awesome. Good. Yeah. So.
All right. So my name is Miranda, and I am drinking water today. It's so exciting.
Le agua.
Yeah. And my favorite ice cream flavor is strawberry. I know it's kind of plain, but I like the flavor of strawberry ice cream.
Mm-hmm. And I am Melissa. I am just drinking some peppermint. It's actually peppermint white chocolate tea, but I might go switch over to something else with a little more kick. Almost done with it. My current favorite ice cream flavor is, I'm liking this, it's like a strawberry with chocolate chips in it at Dairy Queen. It's just really good. Otherwise, like the pumpkin pie ice cream with cheesecake bites instead of like, they put pumpkin pie chips, like pumpkin pie chip flavors in the pumpkin pie ice cream, which is, it does not compare to the cheesecake bites. So like if you're going to go get a pumpkin pie blizzard at Dairy Queen, just trade out the pumpkin pie chips for the cheesecake bites and you'll not regret it.
Wow, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's really awesome. So yeah, that's mine. And Mom, what are you drinking and what is your current favorite ice cream?
Well, what do you think I'm drinking?
Diet Pepsi.
Not quite. maybe
Not
soon. Diet Coke. My favorite ice cream is, I guess, whichever one I'm eating at the time. I love ice cream. We really have not been eating it very often at all because it's just not in our plan to do so.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I love the Butterfingers ice cream and the Snickers ice cream, and I really love the Mackinac fudge ice cream. Vanilla with the Mackinac fudge pieces and swirls. But yeah, just about any.
Yeah. Yummy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so who chose this book and what is it about? And we'll go over our overall impressions. But first of all, well, who chose the book and why? I suppose that was one of the, I forgot to put that on the little side, but and why, and what is it about, and our overall impressions.
Sure. So this book is supposed to be like a book about a guy who comes across these like notes of a guy who's writing, I don't know, a script about a documentary about this crazy house. And so, and it's supposed to be kind of like scary and creepy and like, okay, I gotta find this thing in the flap of the book. It's like, oh God. It's like, oh, an ever-growing abyss behind a closet door, and of that unholy growl which soon enough would tear through their walls and consume all their dreams. And so it just seemed like it was going to be this super complicated, like crazy house, and I wasn't really sure where the rest of it was going to go. But I thought it sounded
was complicated.
Yeah.
It was very complicated.
Yeah. And I picked it because it was recommended as an interest point, because I keep having these dreams now and then about basically like hidden staircases, like inside or behind like apartments that lead to like basically hidden apartments and like hidden rooms. And so I was like, oh my gosh, like this sounds kind of cool and kind of perfect. And I can't remember if there were reviews somewhere online or something where it was like be careful reading this book because it's going to give you scary dreams and it's going to like creep you out and like suck you in and spit you out. And I was like, can a book really do that? And so I think I went into it with like really high expectations, but yeah, so that's a little bit about why I chose it and what it was about. My overall impressions though, I'm so sorry that I made us read this book. I don't know how you guys feel about it for sure yet, but I was disappointed. I'm just looking at some notes that I made here. So it's like I found myself most intrigued by the house itself and like the Nevidson story, like their family story of this house. And I felt like because of all the footnotes and like Johnny's notes and his story, I thought they were going to, I don't know, tie together more. Maybe I missed something. I don't know. It felt like the illusion of a tie together was there, but it just sort of was complicated and not really jointed. I don't know. There was sort of a theory I had about Zampano and Johnny that I'll talk about later, but it was like not, it didn't come out that way. So then it really just kind of made it more stupid. But so let me see here. Yeah, so the footnotes, they reference so many sources. I mean, I know it's like fake, but it's like it referenced all these things that sort of about sources that have already made documentaries and interviews and in like stories and printed materials about this family and this house. And it's like Zampano is like collecting it all for his work, but it just sort of was like redundant. Like, well, why are you even making this? There's all this stuff out there. Like, what's sort of the point? And I kind of was hoping for some sort of tie back, and I really just felt there never was one. And then like Johnny's story, like, I mean, maybe you could draw some parallels, but it was just sort of like, why? Like, why do I care? Like, honestly, like, I'm being honest, it was just sort of like, okay, I'm reading about this guy like falling apart, but like why do I care, and what does it have to do with this sort of? I don't know. And then I did think it was a really cool concept, and maybe just not executed the best way, or maybe the outcome isn't what was expected, or maybe I just didn't get it. mean, maybe it was me, but it was like there was stuff like X'd out and bracketed out, and I felt like it should be more significant, and it was like nothing. Like,
Yeah.
or maybe I missed something. But we'll get to that. Maybe I missed something, and I
Yeah.
just felt like it was supposed to feel important, but it sort of wasn't. And yeah, I was excited to feel scared, creeped out, disoriented. Maybe my expectations were too high going into it. You know, Johnny and Zampano were pretty like nuts reading the Navidson report, like, or whatever these notes about it, reading about it, and I guess I thought maybe us as readers were supposed to get there too, and I just didn't even slightly. And yeah, just some of the references were just like, at first I was reading them all, and then I was like, this isn't, I don't know, this doesn't mean
got time for this. No.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I kind of felt like it picked up like halfway through, but I was mostly just interested in the house. I wanted to know more about that. I didn't really care. I don't know. I'm disappointed because I thought it was gonna be like this really cool orchestrated tie back thing, and I don't know. Yeah, that's my overall impression.
Yeah.
I don't want. We have lots of questions to discuss.
Oh yeah. No,
but maybe it'll unravel some different thoughts.
Right. Yeah.
That's why we're here.
Exactly.
What did you guys
Cool.
think?
Yeah.
So I kind of was along the same lines of I was a little bit disappointed, and I think some of it had to do with the fact that we'd read S before, and so I thought it was going to be more along those lines where there was more of a like mystery to it, and like kind of everything was more connected. Because yeah, I felt the same way, that it wasn't as connected as it could have been between Johnny's stuff and Zampano's and Navidson report and all that stuff. Like it felt like the connections that were there were just, I don't know, but like, and some of what Johnny wrote in general was just kind of a little much at parts. And it really wasn't my cup of tea in that part. But yeah, like what the Navidson report was about, like the actual like incident with the house, that stuff was really interesting. And I did like some of the like extra like quotes that they had in there from like other people or whatever, but a lot of it, yeah, just felt really like, okay, why are these footnotes in here? And at one point, I think Johnny even mentions that he tried looking up some of these footnotes, and these books didn't exist. So I'm like, okay, well, why are they here? Like I was on page like 26, and I'm like, there's like already like 100 footnotes, and I'm like,
did you look up
it just
any?
detracts.
I
actually,
we'll get into
I didn't.
it, I guess, but
yeah,
I know
like
we'll
it just
talk more about footnotes
just
later too.
Really excessive, and just it seemed like it detracted from it.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, cumbersome and tedious. I feel the same way that you guys do. Yeah, and then just to kind of expound on Truant's narrative, I feel like my overall impression on his narrative was just kind of grimy and just gave me bad feelings, and I just didn't want to walk down that path. So I didn't get very far on his. I think I read up to about page 150 or so, and I just decided I'm never going to get through this book if I'm going to read Truant's side of the story too. So I just decided to just read the Navidson report part of it. But yeah, I do really like the eeriness that this book has created. I do feel like sometimes books, well, more often than not for me, it's the feeling you get from a book that you really kind of remember and like take away with. So I really do feel like this book had a very strong mood, a very strong, like eerie, like uncanny feeling that I will always associate when I think of this book. So definitely did a very good job with creating that mood. So what about you, Mom?
I hated the book. I was actually cleaning and sorting things and realized I could be reading, and I just kept on cleaning and sorting. So it was a very difficult book for me to read. And most of it was just the layout. The fact that there were 6 million footnotes, and the footnotes start telling Johnny Truant's story and some panos, and all of a sudden you're on to page 16 of their notes, and then boom, all of a sudden the rest of the real story starts.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, where was I? And
where was I?
where did this come from? And so in a way, it was a brain exercise that I failed because I found it very difficult to follow along. And then I did have to do with what Melissa did, was I just stopped reading anything in the footnotes. I skipped whole chapters because footnotes. And I did like that they chose the different fonts for the different voices in there, and you know, who was speaking or who the story was about. That did help some.
Yeah, it did, for sure.
But yeah, there was no tie together, or not much of a tie together, of Johnny's story with whatever was going on. And then I took it that he was reading, wherever we were reading is where Johnny was reading in the notes. And that's why they were the footnotes to that. But they sure could have tied it together a lot better, or in any way.
Yeah.
Yes. I just, even if they would have made the footnote things or Johnny's story a separate chapter after you read the chapter about the house and the Navidsons, and then have the footnote, you know, the Johnny's, and you know, and do it that way, just something. Yeah. And then all the quoted sources, it's like, oh, no.
Yeah.
What are you trying to hide here with all these footnotes that you don't really have a story? I mean, and I love the idea of something being bigger on the inside than the outside, because that's the Doctor Who TARDIS thing. So, you know, I was like, oh, cool. And then it's like, no.
Yeah, and I do agree. It wasn't just, for me, it wasn't just that I stopped reading Truant's story. I also ended up starting to like just skip anything that was like remotely difficult to read. Like, I was just finishing the book today, actually. So when it was like the history of Ash Tree Lane, and there were like journal entries with like F's instead of S's, which is how they used to write S's. I just like skipped over it. I was like, nope, I can't. Like,
don't worry, it wasn't that important.
No.
Okay, good. Yeah. Or even when they did the oh, sorry, now I lost my train of thought.
Okay.
Oh, like the whole chapters where he had it crossed off in red.
Oh yeah, like why?
Why is that even? I mean, I started reading it and I went, no, I don't have time for this. And
yeah, that was another thing that I skipped over those because they're just so hard to read, and it's like, what's the payoff? Like, if I do want to read it, like, what's the payoff?
I read some of it at first, yeah, and it was like there was no payoff.
Right.
No. and like going over the Greek, comparing things to the Greek mythology stories, and it's like, I don't care. And you know,
like I was hoping to kind of I was hoping that would actually be interesting, and because like I do remember that play in school, the Theseus and the Minotaur, and like the yarn through the maze. Like I was like, oh, that's really cool, but like it just felt like, and I know this is kind of beyond just overall impressions, but like that's just one analogy or one example of many where it was like, okay, I like the idea, but it's like, are you just doing this because it's a cool idea? Like, what is the overall meaning?
And could you have done it in 2 paragraphs instead of 20 pages?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the part that kind of got me. It's like I felt like he went overboard in delving off into these other areas that really didn't relate to the story.
Uh-oh.
What? What's wrong?
Uh-oh, I think there's a mouse in here.
What?
I really do.
No!
Get Bela.
Bela, what is it? Bela, where is it? Bela, go find it. Go find it.
Oh my god.
Fetch. Fetch.
How does she not hear that?
You're going crazy. Maybe it's coming from the house.
You're hearing
Oh
scratching.
my gosh, I am hearing scratching.
Could be a
Maybe
bat in your wall.
maybe it's in the wall also. If it's
It sounded
Yeah.
like it was in the corner back there.
Oh,
I'm just gonna ignore it and pretend it's not there.
It's not there.
It's not there.
it's not
Okay.
there.
It's not there. It's just the house creaking and growing.
If Bela didn't hear it, I didn't hear it.
No.
Good point.
Okay. So how did you guys end up reading the book? And we kind of touched onto kind of how it sounds like but I know like maybe there was a different way that we each read it. So did you guys read it page by page, or did you read Zampano's text and then Truant's, or how did you guys choose to go about it? And when did you decide to read in a certain way?
Sure. So I read both, and I sort of I started reading Zampano's, and then I would kind of wait till I got to like the end of a paragraph, or sort of the end of a thought, or maybe the end of the chapter, just sort of depended. And then I'd like take a peek at Truant's footnotes, or I'd take a peek, and if it was just like a sentence, I might read it just then.
Mm-hmm.
But if it was like a half a page or a couple pages, I would like finish reading the Zampano text, and then go back.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would read Johnny's. Okay, if we get to the end of the chapter or whatever, okay, then I'd start picking up Zampano's again.
Mm-hmm.
Because sort of like Mom said, I sort of felt like he was reacting to the story as it was going along. So I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna at least read a chunk, because it was really disruptive if you just kind of stopped every time.
It really was.
and
Yeah,
then
it was
went
hard for
back.
me too.
And I think that's one of the reasons it took me a long time to read it too, because I was just like, every time I sat down to read it, I was like, okay, I can't be tired, and I can't,
Right.
because I might miss something important.
Right. I noticed. I actually had to like make sure, because usually when I pick up a book to read, I'm like more in like a sedate like state of mind, and like, you know, before bed or something like that. And it's like this one I couldn't do that, which meant that I needed to choose a different, like a special time of day. And
That's harder to fit in.
Same, yeah.
Fit in.
100%. Like usually I'll read right away in the morning when I get up, and I'll have my coffee and I'll read and I'll kind of wake up. But I needed a lot more brain power to like read the book. So I was like, okay, well, now I got to find some time in like the afternoon.
Yeah. Miranda, how did you go through it?
I read it page by page. So like I literally just read it like I would a normal book. Started up in the top left, read through. If there's a footnote indication, I would go down to the footnote and read that. And I'd go back and I'd just continue. So it was really disruptive. I don't know. I almost wonder if I shouldn't have read it through just as like the Navidson report and then gone back through and read everything. Same with like the appendices in the back.
Yeah.
Like I think I missed them referencing one of them at one point to like go and look, and then there was other things where they're like, oh, exhibit A or exhibit B, and there was nothing referencing that. So I was like going back there, like looking through, I'm like, what the heck are you talking about? I'm like, am I missing something?
Yes.
Like, so there were some moments where I was really confused about that. But if there was like a reference to like, oh yeah, go here, I would go there and I would try and read them, and then I'd come back.
I didn't even look at the appendix until I decided this is as far as I'm going to read. And I thought, hey, I should see how much more of the book there is. And it's like, oh, I'm really close to the end, but then there's all these appendixes and other things like that. And it's like,
and a glossary, and
Yeah,
not a
like,
glossary,
why is
but
it
like an
even in there?
index.
Yeah. Like I need to
why do I?
up on certain pages.
Right, I was really confused.
Yeah, here's what the chapters would be named. I mean,
Oh yeah. So I bookmarked that, or I put a sticky note there, and so I just want to show what my book looks like, because this is what I
Oh
ended
my.
up starting to do. So on like every page, I like tried to like do a quick like summary, like a couple word summary thing of like, so like this one is goes in with bike, explores corridors, not staircase. Like just so I can like flip through it and like kind of get an idea. My idea was I was going to go through this before we met and just like refresh my mind, but I didn't get to the, like I just finished the book basically, but that was that one about what the chapters would be called. I did put a sticky note there, and like on every chapter I put a sticky note and put whatever title it was, because I felt like it was kind of in line with what I was doing already, just kind of like a quick summary thing. Like I was like trying my hardest to make sure everything was clear in my mind and like I could organize everything. Yeah, it was hard, and
And then you realized you weren't ever supposed to do that.
No?
No, it was the house's trick.
Oh, yeah.
You confused and off balance.
So, Mel, you said that you kind of started reading it and then you just stopped reading Truant stuff.
Yeah,
so then you read the
so
Navidson report stuff.
I was doing what you were doing. I was reading absolutely everything, and then like I read Truant's mother's letters, and I did the decoding thing, and I think and so
I
like
didn't understand that, so I didn't actually decode it.
Oh yeah,
I didn't either.
It took like 30 minutes for me to do it or more. But I think ideally what I would have done is probably read the Navidson report and then gone back and read Truant's separately. I think that's what I would have done if I had wanted to, or if like there was enough, if I wanted to plus time. I would probably do it that way, just because it is. I'm sure some people's minds kind of work well like that when like, they're okay being disrupted and going into a new train of thought, and like that might be really exciting for some people. But yeah, for me it was very distracting and confusing. So yeah, Mom, did you say
a lot of brain power?
Yeah, it takes a lot of brain power. Did you cover how you chose to read it, or?
I started doing it like you all did, with reading every page and checking the footnotes. And I just kept putting off reading it, and I just kept, and then, well, I know Melissa and I had kind of talked, and she said she was just reading the one part first and then was
I was actually really relieved to hear that I wasn't the only one having a problem reading.
Me too. I thought it was just me. So
yeah, and I was actually I was kind of shocked because I know you really like mysteries and puzzles, and
I do.
To hear it from you, I was like, I felt way much better about how much I was struggling.
I think too, like some of like how things were just like worded, that part got me a little bit stuck, and I was reading things like, usually I'm a pretty decently like fast reader, but like I felt like I was reading it really slow just because there was like a lot of words that I didn't know. Sometimes there was different languages in there, and for like no reason. So like that slowed me down like a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us for our discussion on the House of Leaves. Be sure to stay tuned for more in the coming weeks. Also, remember to come on over to Twitter or Instagram and say hi to us. There you can enjoy some intermittent content, including what we're up to, how our reading is coming along, and general reading inspiration. Let us know in the comments if you've ever read House of Leaves and what you thought about it. Whether or not you've read House of Leaves, let us know what you're reading right now and how you're liking it. That's all for now. Take good care of yourself, and happy reading.